On a sweltering evening, the air heavy with the scent of impending rain, I, Claudia, 38, widowed for far too long, sharp-tongued yet soft-curved, lounged in our dim living room, my silk robe shimmering in the faint glow of a lamp. The heat enveloped me, suffocating and relentless, turning every small movement into a struggle. The windows stood ajar, yet the stillness suffocated, unbroken by a whisper of wind. Just the soft buzz of cicadas and the far-off growl of thunder. Time stretched endlessly as I sat there. Though reality told me it was barely 20 minutes, my thoughts drifted, lost in a sea of the ordinary and the sorrowful, as they often do now. 3 years since my husband's death, and though the pain had softened, a lingering ache persisted, an ever-present shadow at my side. Tonight, the ache pulsed with a restless energy, alive and raw, as if the storm outside had awakened something buried deep within me. I shifted on the couch, the silk of my robe whispering against my skin, and exhaled slowly. Shadows danced in the dim light, wrapping the room in a haunting embrace of muted gold. The glow was soft, intimate. My fingers traced the hem of my robe, brushing the delicate fabric, lost in the moment. The soft trickle of water from the bathroom snapped me back to reality. Moments later, Liam emerged from the bathroom, water glistening on his skin, a towel hanging precariously at his hips. At 22, he was a whirlwind of restless energy. Dark, tousled hair, framing a lean frame that still held traces of youth, yet hinted at a burgeoning confidence, something deeper waiting to emerge. Water sparkled on his chest, reflecting the lamplight, and in that instant, I was overwhelmed by his father's likeness. Broad shoulders, effortless grace, unchanged, yet haunting. I averted my eyes, fixating on the window instead. Liam was my stepson, a haunting echo of a life once intertwined with his father, now a fading memory. We shared a house, polite yet estranged, our words sharp and functional. He was young, lost in his own search for identity, while I was a widow, grappling with a world that had become a stranger. Darkness swallowed the room as the lamp's light vanished in an instant. A distant thunder rumbled, the storm's ominous whisper creeping into the house. I shot up, my foot snagging the ottoman. I lurched forward, hands flailing for support. My fingers traced Liam's bare shoulders, his skin warm and slick under my touch. He caught me, his hands firm on my arms, as I regained my balance. In that instant, we stood still, the space between us crackling with an unspoken tension. In that split second, everything changed. My fingers grazed something solid beneath his waist, a surge of electricity coursing through me at the touch. I flinched, breath hitching, cheeks aflame with a heat beyond the oppressive air. "I'm sorry," Liam mumbled, his voice thick with shame as he awkwardly tugged at the towel. In the dim moonlight, our eyes locked, igniting a spark that felt electric. An unspoken moment stretched thin, heavy with meaning. "Oh, Arths," I recoiled, heart racing. That brief touch etched in my memory. The evening slipped away, a whirlwind of fleeting moments. Liam slipped away, murmuring about a flashlight, while I remained in the living room, my mind a whirlwind. The storm loomed, but within me, chaos had already begun. In the solitude of my room, I lost control. My fingers glided under the silk of my robe, mapping the contours of my hip, my stomach, my thighs. Shallow breaths escaped me as Liam's image loomed. Broad shoulders, damp skin, overwhelming presence, haunting my every thought. My touch intensified, relentless, until a surge of release engulfed me. leaving me gasping and disoriented in the shadows. The wrongness clung, a silent pain that transcended grief. The storm approached, and it was more than just thunder that crackled in the atmosphere. It was a force, wild and perilous, and I found myself torn between the urge to embrace it and the fear of letting it consume me. Moments later, shrouded in restless shadows, I stood at the kitchen counter, a loose sundress clinging to my skin as I fought against the oppressive heat. The air hung heavy, stifling, as the storm loomed, the house trembling in tense silence. Yet, my thoughts wandered far away. Haunted by that brief touch in the living room, the unintended graze of my fingers against Liam, a moment that stirred emotions I couldn't ignore. I pressed against the counter, the cold marble failing to ease the fire raging under my skin. The refrigerator's faint hum filled the silence, a steady pulse that only amplified my chaotic thoughts. It clung to me, relentless, his skin under my hands, the towel slipping, our eyes locking in the moonlight. I felt the weight of my mistake, a truth I couldn't escape. The memory clung to me, relentless and sharp, a splinter I couldn't shake off. The soft patter of bare feet on the tiled floor jolted me from my reverie. I glanced over, catching Liam as he strolled into the kitchen, shirtless, his loose shorts hanging low on his hip. My breath hitched, but I averted my gaze, feigning interest in the glass of water clutched in my hand. He swung open the fridge, its cool light flooding out, shadows dancing across his chest. He reached for a bottle of water, his motion smooth and deliberate, and I couldn't help but steal a glance from the side. His movement was magnetic, exuding confidence and a hint of recklessness that held my gaze captive. Our eyes locked as he turned, his gaze sweeping over me, igniting a sudden, fierce heat in the room. I choked back a breath, gripping the glass tighter, desperate to block out the weight of his presence. "Rest eludes you?" he asked, voice husky and thick with slumber. I shook my head, a smile barely holding on, scorching. I just needed a sip of water. He nodded, gulping from the bottle, his throat tightening with each swallow. My gaze followed the line of his collarbone, the subtle movement of his Adam's apple, before I averted my eyes in haste. The silence hung thick, electric, until I finally broke, unable to suppress the question that clawed at my mind. "You're really impressive down there," I stammered, heat flooding my cheeks as the words escaped me. Liam halted, the bottle suspended mid-air, his eyes growing wide. For a heartbeat, I expected laughter or a quip, but he placed the bottle down, leaning against the counter, his eyes locked onto mine. "Does it feel right to you?" I pressed, my voice barely a whisper, filled with uncertainty. "Do they?" "Do you feel it?" he smirked, pride igniting a fire inside me. "It's a challenge," he confessed, adjusting his position. "Girls often claim it's overwhelming." The air thickened, silence enveloping us. The refrigerator's hum, our only witness. My fingers trembled, the echo of that brief touch rushing back with piercing intensity. His fingers grazed mine while handing me the bottle, a spark igniting within me, leaving my heart racing wildly. I took a trembling sip, the cool water barely touching the fire raging beneath my skin. We lingered, the air thick with unspoken words, until Liam turned and vanished into the shadows of the hallway. I lingered at the counter, heart pounding, body torn by an insatiable curiosity. The storm loomed, but within me, chaos had already taken hold. The blackout lingered into a second night, the house engulfed in an all-consuming darkness that felt almost alive. The heat suffocated, wrapping around everything, every inhale a struggle, as if the world paused, anticipating a storm that would never arrive. All day, I drifted in a restless fog, my mind haunted by Liam's gravelly confession from the night before. Girls often say it's a lot. The memory tormented me, a perilous blend of curiosity that clung to my soul, relentless and inescapable. Lost in the shadows of the house, a solitary lantern flickered, my only beacon in the dark. The air hung heavy with the scent of rain, a tense stillness before the storm, yet the downpour stayed just out of reach, a tantalizing promise on the horizon. I walked into the garage, shadows dancing around me, a lone lantern flickering on the workbench. Liam hovered over the old radio, hands deftly weaving through the tangled wires, lost in a world of sound and memory. The air was heavy, stifling, and the soft buzz of the lantern heightened the room's electric tension. I pressed against the workbench, the cold metal biting into my lower back, my shorts shifting as I crossed my legs. I watched him, captivated by the ripple of his muscles, the dark strands of hair that fell into his eyes as he focused on his task. I started, my voice gentle yet sharp with mischief. "What's your size? I can't shake the curiosity of what it feels like." Liam froze, hands poised on the radio, then slowly turned to meet my gaze. His gaze locked onto mine, deep and inscrutable. And for an instant, I feared he would silence me, command me to halt. He just stared, breath quickening, chest rising, and falling in sync with mine. The air between us buzzed with tension, igniting my skin and quickening my heartbeat. I moved in, each step measured, my eyes locked onto his. "It's dark," I added, my voice a fragile whisper, daring to break the silence. "Darkness falls. I need to experience it. I will see nothing." He paused, tension etched on his face, and for a fleeting moment, I feared his answer would be no. But then, almost silently, he gave a nod. My heart raced, pounding against my chest as I drew closer to him. My hand shook as I reached out, fingers grazing the fabric. He was solid, unmistakably massive, and a surge of electricity coursed through me at the touch. I moved cautiously, my fingers gliding over the fabric, feeling every thread. He loomed large, radiating a heat that stole my breath away. My touch deepened, my palm pressing firmly against him, and I sensed his tension, the hitch in his breath echoing my own anticipation. Liam's hands clutched the workbench, knuckles pale as I delved deeper, my fingers wrapping around him. His breath hitched, each rise and fall of his chest echoing the frantic beat of my own heart. "Claudia," he breathed, my name a desperate echo, but I pressed on. My hand acted independently, fingers clenching as I caressed. He let out a deep, primal groan, then gasped sharply as he reached his climax. We stood frozen, shock gripping us, the room filled only with the soft hum of the lantern and our uneven breaths. My heart raced, the burden of my actions, my desires, pressing down on me like a suffocating shroud. Liam's gaze locked onto mine, deep and inscrutable, and for an instant we were frozen in time. The air crackled, heavy with unspoken words, as tension wound tighter with each heartbeat. I recoiled, my hand shaking as I withdrew, and Liam gasped, his shoulders sagging as he leaned against the workbench. We stood in silence, the weight of unspoken words pressing down on us. The lantern flickered, shadows danced, and I turned away, my mind a tempest of guilt and longing. The storm loomed, but within me, the fracture had already begun. The next evening, The stormy sky loomed, heavy and oppressive, the air thick with the scent of rain that never came. The blackout hung heavy, suffocating the house, yet the back porch beckoned, a fragile escape. The faint hum of crickets whispered against the tension crackling between Liam and me. On the wooden steps, we shared a bottle of warm wine, its warmth overshadowed by the electric tension between us. The wine burned my tongue, its warmth unable to calm the restless energy tightening within me. With each fleeting second, my mind raced back to the garage, to Liam's body tightening under my fingers, his whisper of my name hanging in the air like a desperate call. It lingered, a tormenting blend of guilt and longing that I couldn't escape. Liam moved closer, his knee touching mine, and that simple contact ignited a spark within me. His closeness was a heady rush, his presence enveloping us, clouding my thoughts completely. My breath caught, yet I stayed, his warmth enveloping me. He faced me, his dark eyes probing my expression, and for a heartbeat, silence enveloped us. The silence hung thick, charged with unvoiced emotions, until he shattered it at last. "Touch me again," he murmured, his voice low and rough, sending a shiver down my spine. Just this once. My heart raced, fingers quivering as I reached out. For a heartbeat, I paused, the gravity of my choice pressing down. Then my fingers glided over the fabric, feeling its contours. He was primed, the heat unmistakable, and I sensed him tighten under my fingers. "Claudia," he breathed, my name a desperate call, a silent alarm, yet I pressed on. My hand acted on instinct, fingers wrapping around him as he let out a soft groan, breath catching in his throat. His hand reached for me, hesitant at first, but soon his fingers danced boldly across my skin. His touch began timidly, a gentle probe, but soon it transformed, becoming bold and demanding. His fingers danced over my skin, each stroke stealing my breath, a surge of electricity igniting within me. He smiled, his gaze deep, and filled with a desire that mirrored mine. "Only if you let me," he murmured, his voice a gravelly whisper. His hand ascended, fingers grazing my sensitive skin, and I sensed my last threads of restraint unraveling, the wine and shadows drawing us into reckless abandon, a point of no return. Suddenly, his free hand found the back of my neck, his grip steady yet gentle. He held my head with a firm yet tender grip, leading me downwards. My breath hitched, heart racing as the truth dawned on me. "Liam," I whispered, the name slipping from my lips, a confession I never intended to share. He stayed silent, but his grip on my neck tightened, a mix of command and desperate longing. My lips parted, breath warm against him. The storm loomed, but within me, chaos was already unfurling, tension tightening with each heartbeat. The final strands of control unraveled, the wine and shadows drawing us into a reckless abyss, a point of no return. In the darkness, the storm loomed, its weight pressing down. The gravity of our actions, or near actions, wrapped around me like a suffocating shroud. The boundary was shattered, and I felt the weight of no return. The storm raged on, but the true chaos had ignited within me, within us. There was no way out now. The evening melted into a stifling night, the air thick and suffocating, each breath a battle against the oppressive humidity. The storm hung heavy in the air, taunting with distant thunder, yet holding back its fury. Shadows loomed, pierced only by the trembling light of a lantern in the upstairs hall. I pressed against the wall, my tank top clinging to my skin, thoughts swirling in chaos. He consumed my thoughts. Liam, my heart. The word seemed alien, an old tag that couldn't contain the electric tension sparking between us. The garage lingers in my mind, his body taut under my fingers, his breath soft as he spoke my name. It consumed me, a perilous blend of guilt and longing that haunted me relentlessly. The bathroom door creaked open, yanking me from my reverie. My breath caught as Liam entered the hall, a towel hanging low on his hips, his wet skin shimmering in the dim light. Water droplets clung to his chest, shimmering in the lantern's glow as he moved. He was a whirlwind of sharp edges and fierce intensity, dark hair shadowing his eyes, his very presence a force that clouded all thought. He stopped dead in his tracks, his eyes piercing into mine. For a heartbeat, we stood still, the air crackling with unspoken words. His eyes pierced through the darkness, probing deep within me. I sensed he could unravel my defenses, strip away the lies I clung to. "Tell me to stop," he growled, his voice raw and urgent, a plea wrapped in desperation, as if he were teetering on the edge of control. "No, I didn't." I grasped him, my fingers weaving through his wet hair, drawing him into a passionate kiss. Our lips collided, the force of it leaving me breathless. His hand slipped beneath my shirt, warmth igniting my skin as he cupped me. A jolt of electricity surged through me. I gripped his shoulders, nails digging in, craving more, desperate and alive. I had convinced myself it was wrong, that it couldn't and shouldn't be. Yet, in that instant, everything else faded away. What mattered most was how he ignited my spirit, making me feel alive, desired, essential. The towel dropped, lost to the moment, as his hands gripped my waist, pushing my shorts aside with a desperate intensity that stole my breath away. His touch ignited a fire within me, fingers dancing with urgency that left me breathless. My hands roamed his sculpted form, driven by an insatiable desire that consumed me. "Liam," I breathed, a desperate whisper, and he answered with a deep growl, his lips crashing into mine, sending me spiraling. We were a chaotic mix of bodies, our hands desperate, our breaths intertwining in the thick heat. Our gasps echoed in the hall, shattering the barrier that once defined us, the stepmother-stepson divide crumbling in mere moments. Liam's lips parted from mine, descending my neck with heated, open-mouthed kisses that ignited a shiver within me. His hands explored my body, fierce and urgent, as if he needed to imprint every curve in his memory. My hands trembled, clutching his shoulders, his back, anything to ground me as the world whirled away. "Claudia," he groaned, his voice raw with desire, igniting the flames that consumed us both. Thoughts vanished, breath caught. The heat of our bodies entwined consumed me, leaving only him in my mind. His hands roamed, igniting fire with every brush of his skin against mine. My fingers wove through his hair, drawing him nearer as our kisses deepened. Frantic and fervent, the cool wall pressed against my heated skin, but I hardly felt it. All my attention was on Liam and the rush of emotions he stirred within me. His hands slipped beneath my shirt, lifting it away. I surrendered, the cool air a brief comfort before his warmth consumed me once more. Our touches became desperate, the longing between us too powerful to hold back. His hands ignited my skin, each touch a spark, while mine traced his form, imprinting every curve and contour in my memory. The intimacy was fierce, unfiltered, The boundary between us vanished in a whirlwind of sweat and breathless whispers I couldn't contain. His hands roamed, warm and demanding, mapping my body with a reverence that shattered me. His heat enveloped me, breath catching at my touch. The world faded, leaving just us, shadows from flickering candlelight swirling around us. The air pulsed with the scent of rain and sweat, each touch igniting electric shivers through my body. His lips met mine, the kiss fierce and consuming, pulling me in as the burden of our unspoken feelings surged around us like a tidal wave. As he finally shifted, each movement was slow and purposeful, leaving me breathless, my fingers weaving through his hair as I held on tightly. It consumed me, each touch, each movement drawing me in. The storm outside loomed, but within the house we were ensnared in our own whirlwind, leaving us gasping and shaken. Later, as we lay entwined in the shadows, the gravity of our actions pressed down on me. We crossed a line, and now I feared there was no return. The storm raged outside, but the true chaos had ignited within me, within us, and there was no turning back. A tempest of guilt and desire raged within me, each emotion battling for dominance as I grappled with the reality of what had transpired. Yet, beneath it all, the truth lingered, undeniable. It was a wild gamble, perilous and irreversible. The storm outside may fade, but the tempest within me, within us, was only starting. The following night, darkness enveloped the house, a stifling cocoon of heat and shadows. The air clung to my skin, heavy and still, heightening the restless energy within me. I sat on the couch, alone, candle flickering on the table, its weak light dancing shadows on the walls. My hands shook, thoughts swirling chaotically as I waited. He slipped into the room, an electric tension crackling in the air. I felt him before I saw him, a shiver of anticipation coursing through my body. He paused, his dark eyes locked onto mine, a fierce intensity radiating from them. In that instant, we were frozen, the air thick with unvoiced emotions. He knelt between my thighs, his hands warm and purposeful as they opened me up. His touch ignited a fire within me, breathless and trembling under the intensity of his gaze. He gazed up, eyes locked on mine. I nodded, my voice a fragile whisper. Just this once. The word lingered, a delicate promise of freedom, and he leaped without a second thought. His lips brushed against mine, a tantalizing dance that ignited a fire within. The damp warmth of him ignited a spark within me, my body arching, craving deeper connection. My fingers wove through his hair, pulling him near as his attention consumed me, leaving me gasping. The beat grew relentless, every moment drawing me nearer to the brink. Sweat coated my skin, the stifling heat and his electrifying touch clouding my thoughts. My body ignited with raw urgency, every nerve ablaze as he pushed me to new heights. A brief hesitation, a whisper of doubt. Then it vanished, swept away by the overwhelming tide of pleasure that engulfed me. My fingers clutched his hair, teetering on the edge of ecstasy. Is it truly wrong? What we were doing felt dangerously wrong. Sharpened the spiral, infusing a perilous thrill into the pleasure that engulfed me. It was a dangerous gamble. It was a mistake. In that instant, nothing else mattered. This was my desire, craved him, driven by an all-consuming desperation. As I finished, a cry erupted, shattering the silence, my body quaking with raw emotion. He kept going, gasping for breath, My body lay spent and boneless. He withdrew, his gaze deep and inscrutable. Silence enveloped us, broken only by my ragged breaths and the soft crackle of the flickering candle. The burden of our actions pressed down, a suffocating mix of guilt and longing that clung to my soul. The line that separated us vanished, shattered by the raw power of our bond. His hand grazed my cheek, and I leaned in, my body alive with lingering pleasure. His fingers glided down my neck, a blend of tenderness and fierce ownership. The tension between us tightened, a palpable force in the air. The stifling heat of the blackout clung to the house, enveloping it in a heavy silence. The air weighed down like a shroud, suffocating. A lone candle flickered on the counter, its light dancing with shadows that whispered secrets in the dark. I sat at the table, a half-empty glass of wine in hand, the warmth doing nothing to soothe the turmoil within. He slipped into the kitchen, his presence electrifying the air. I felt his presence before I even glanced up. The shiver of anticipation coursing through my body was everything. With a bottle of wine in one hand and damp hair tousled by his fingers, he leaned against the counter, lost in thought. "I thought you might crave more," he murmured, his voice gravelly, as he filled his glass. I nodded, silence swallowing me whole, as he settled into the chair opposite, his dark eyes piercing through me. The candlelight flickered, casting shadows on his face, accentuating the sharp angles and the glistening sweat on his skin. His shirt clung to him, outlining the hard lines of his chest. I wrenched my gaze away, my fingers tightening around the glass. We sipped quietly, the air thickening with unspoken words, each heartbeat amplifying the weight of our silence. The wine burned, its bitterness overshadowed by the intensity of his gaze on me. "You're quiet." He finally broke the silence. I shrugged, my voice a fragile whisper. "Only lost in thought." He leaned in, elbows on the table, eyes locked onto mine with an intensity that pierced through the silence. "What's this about?" I paused, my mind a storm of longing and remorse. "Who we are. Once upon a time, this." His eyes held steady, a mask of mystery. So, I sipped my wine, its warmth coursing through me, yet my nerves remain unsteady. It's a moment that lingers, heavy with unspoken words, intricate. His chuckle rumbled, sending a shiver racing down my spine. Complicated barely scratches the surface. I gazed into his dark eyes, where amusement danced alongside a deeper intensity that stole my breath away. "We can stop," he murmured, his voice heavy with gravity. "If you wish." I shook my head, instinct taking over before reason could catch up. "I can't bear to end this." His eyes warmed, and he leaned in, our fingers barely touching. The touch ignited a spark, and the tension between us tightened like a noose. "Good," he whispered, his voice thick with longing. He rose, each movement charged, and my heart raced with anticipation. He snatched the glass from my grip, discarding it, then yanked me upright. His hands burned against my skin, a mix of tenderness and ownership as he led me to the table's edge. "Just say the word," he murmured, his breath igniting my skin. I nodded, silence enveloping us. As he leaned in, his lips grazing mine in a kiss that was tender and unforgettable, his hands glided over my body, tracing every curve with a reverence that stole my breath away. The heat surged, tension thickening, nearly suffocating. My fingers wove through his hair, drawing him nearer as the kiss intensified, our bodies colliding in a haze that clouded my thoughts. In that moment, he lifted me, and everything changed. The table's chill bites against my fevered skin. His touch became frantic, hands slipping beneath my shirt, exploring me with a fierce hunger that left me quaking. The wrongness of it all, the thrill of the forbidden, ignited a fire within me, turning pleasure into a perilous obsession. It was wild. It was a mistake. Yet in that instant, I was indifferent. This was my desire. Needed him, a longing that consumed all else. Later, as we lay entwined in the dim kitchen light, the gravity of our actions pressed down on me. The line that separated us vanished, shattered by the raw power of our bond. The storm outside loomed, but within these walls, we battled a tempest of our own, leaving us gasping and shaken. The wrongness consumed us, the forbidden thrill igniting a fire that bound us tighter, and in that moment I found no desire to break free. The storm raged on, but the true chaos had ignited within me, within us, and retreat was no longer an option. The next morning, power surged back, the house awakening with a vibrant hum and the soft flicker of lights igniting hope. I stood at the kitchen sink, my robe clinging to me, eyes fixed on the rain-drenched yard outside. The storm unleashed its fury, leaving the earth shimmering, the air crisp and alive, as if everything had been reborn. The weight of what had happened between us clung to me, heavy and unshakable, like a second skin. The house was transformed, smaller, more intimate, as if the storm had torn down my defenses, leaving me bare. His touch lingered on my skin, warmth still whispering against my neck, and the memory sent a shiver through me, untouched by the cool morning air. The shuffle of bare feet on the hardwood floor reached my ears before I caught sight of him, the door creaking softly behind him. Liam stepped into the kitchen, hair tousled from sleep, his dark eyes flickering away from mine the moment they connected. His movements were taut, a pause that echoed my own, and for an instant silence enveloped us. The coffee maker sputtered to life, its rich, bitter aroma enveloping the room, yet neither of us dared to reach for a cup. I stood there, hands clenched on the sink, thoughts swirling, questions trapped inside me. The silence hung heavy, suffocating, until he shattered it at last. "Morning," he rasped, his voice a fragile whisper. I nodded, eyes locked on the window. "Morning breaks." He drew near, his energy enveloping me, and I sensed his heat before his fingers grazed my arm. The touch was hesitant, barely there, yet it ignited a surge of electricity within me. I faced him, heart racing, and for a heartbeat, silence enveloped us. The air crackled, heavy with the unspoken, last night's shadows looming like an unyielding storm. His eyes pierced through me, deep and inscrutable, igniting a desperate need to turn away, to hide in the refuge of silence. Yet I didn't. Our eyes locked, my breath hitching as he drew near, his hand resting softly on my arm. "We can't pretend that didn't happen," I said at last, my voice a whisper yet resolute. He nodded, his eyes locking onto mine, and a raw intensity flickered in his gaze, stealing my breath away. "I can't keep pretending," he whispered. His words lingered, thick with tension, leaving me momentarily lost for a reply. The coffee maker beeped, a jarring sound slicing through the silence. Yet we remained frozen, unmoving. Time froze, a fragile bubble encasing us, shielding us from the chaos beyond. He moved in, his hand clasping mine, fingers weaving together in a hold that was both strong and gentle. His touch ignited warmth, a grounding force, and for an instant, The burden of our unspoken words and past actions lifted, if only slightly. We left it unnamed, a mix of love, regret, and something deeper. We never had to. Our connection was a fragile thread, binding us in silence. My fingers tightened around his, and he squeezed back, his thumb grazing my knuckles. A mix of comfort and possession. What comes next? He paused, eyes locked on mine, and for an instant I feared he would retreat. He leaned in, forehead touching mine, breath warm on my skin. I don't know, he confessed, his voice thick with feeling. I can't bear the thought of losing you. His words struck me hard, their weight embedding itself deep within. I longed to assure him we would find a way, but the words choked me, trapped in silence. He leaned in, his hand cradling my cheek, his thumb grazing my skin, igniting a spark. I need you, he whispered, his voice trembling with raw truth. I shut my eyes, surrendering to his caress, and in that instant everything else vanished. It was just him, just us, and the delicate bond that tethered our hearts. As I opened my eyes, he remained, his gaze piercing into mine, igniting an unnameable spark within me. Hope or fear. Either way, it shattered the silence. We'll find a way, I whispered, my voice unwavering even as chaos raged within. He nodded, his hand slipping from mine as he stepped back. The warmth of his touch lingered, a silent promise, or a question I couldn't quite grasp. The coffee lingered on the counter, steam swirling, yet we remained frozen, unwilling to take a sip. We stood frozen, the silence thick with everything left unsaid. The future loomed, a blank page eager for ink, yet the burden of our past and the shadow of our potential pressed heavily upon us. Morning light pierced the room, igniting a spark within me. Something new was awakening. It transcended guilt and desire, plunging into a depth that terrified me beyond measure. Liam's throat tightened, shattering the stillness. I should go, he murmured, uncertainty lacing his words. I nodded, silence gripping me as he turned and left the kitchen. His footsteps echoed in the hollow hallway, and his absence pressed down on me like a heavy shroud. As I stood there, gazing at the rain-drenched yard, a revelation struck me. The storm had faded, yet the true chaos was just starting, within me, within us, and there was no way out now. The first stumble transformed my yearnings, our future blank yet burdened by the shadows of who we were destined to be. As the house thrummed with energy, one truth pierced through the chaos. This was just the beginning. The dawn had just broken. The next hours slipped by in a haze. I roamed the house, my mind a chaotic storm of feelings I couldn't decipher. Guilt and desire clashed with fear, each fighting for control in a tumultuous storm. Yet, hidden deep within, a silent force stirred, hinting at something more profound. A flicker of hope. I wasn't prepared to call it what it was. The living room, where it all started. I stood there, heart racing. The storm had carved its scars here as well. The scent of rain hung in the air, cool and refreshing. I sat on the couch, fingers grazing the spot where we had shared our last moments together. His touch lingers, a haunting echo in my thoughts. It crushed me, suffocating and relentless. The weight of our actions crashed down, suffocating and profound. There was no turning back. The line was crossed, the boundary shattered, and nothing could undo the path. The footsteps echoed in the hallway, and my heart raced. He stood in the doorway, his face a mask, and for a heartbeat, silence enveloped us. He shook his head, locking his gaze with mine. I just couldn't. His words pierced me, and his gaze pressed down like a heavy hand. He entered the room, each step measured, and settled next to me, his warmth enveloping the space. The silence wrapped around us, familiar and oddly comforting. His hand clasped mine, fingers weaving together in a grip that was both strong and gentle. In that fleeting moment, the burden of our past and the silence of our unspoken words felt just a bit easier to bear. The future loomed, a blank page eager for ink, yet the burden of our past and the shadow of our potential loomed heavy, impossible to shake off. Sunlight pierced the room, a golden glow igniting a spark within me. Something new was awakening. It transcended guilt and desire, plunging into a depth that terrified me beyond measure. As I held his hand, a revelation struck me. This was just the beginning. The dawn had just broken.